Here's something that didn't make the evening news. A new White House directive, NSPM-7, just redefined how domestic terrorism is policed in America. It's being framed as a security measure, but when you read the fine print, it starts sounding less like counterterrorism and more like counter-dissent.
Not to be a bummer, but from now on, the government might consider a lot of you terrorists. A few weeks ago, the White House issued one of the most sweeping federal directives in decades, National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, or NSPM-7. On paper, it's meant to counter domestic terrorism, but its language signals a much bigger shift in how dissent in America is policed. NSPM-7 orders the Justice Department, FBI, Treasury, even the IRS to coordinate investigations into groups accused of political violence, and it explicitly names anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, and anti-fascism as ideological indicators linked to terror. In plain English, it's saying if you oppose capitalism or call yourself anti-fascist, that could flag you as ideologically linked to terrorism. Civil liberties lawyers point out that the U.S. has no legal process for labeling domestic groups as terrorist organizations. That power exists only for foreign groups under the Patriot Act. So this memo asks agencies to operate in a legal gray zone, using tools built for Al-Qaeda or ISIS against U.S. citizens. The ACLU calls it chilling and says it's going to suppress lawful dissent. Other countries have gone down this road. Russia has used anti-extremist laws, ostensibly focused on terrorists, to outlaw scores of NGOs and media entities, from human rights organizations like Memorial to the news outlet Medusa. The reality is that FBI and DHS data show most deadly extremist violence in the US in recent decades comes from the far right, especially white supremacist actors. This fact is backed up by study after study, including these from the Cato Institute and the University of Maryland. Left-wing violence does exist, and 2025 did see more left-wing incidents, like vandalism, small bomb threats, and assaults. Researchers note, however, that these attacks are far rarer and far less lethal than those from right-wing extremists. So the groups mentioned in this memo seem less defined by threat level and more by their opposition to this administration. History warns us what happens when governments start policing opposition ideology instead of violence. Starting in the mid-1950s, an illegal FBI counterintelligence program called COINTELPRO targeted so-called subversive groups, including civil rights and feminist organizations, exaggerating claims that they were violent and, in the end, destroying many non-violent organizations and contributing to the deaths of civil society leaders. When COINTELPRO was exposed in 1971, it prompted public outrage, the Senate's Church Committee investigations, and reforms designed to permanently prevent federal agencies from policing ideology. Safeguards that NSPM-7 now seems determined to test.
So while the public debate focuses on safety and national security, the real shift is happening quietly, in language and law. I highly recommend checking out Ronan Farrow's full breakdown for context, because this memo isn't just about terrorism, it's about ideology, surveillance, and who gets to decide what's considered a threat.